We're now live on Channel 8 and YouTube.
All right, we are ready to go. Good evening. The time is now 6:30. I'm Chairman Mike Curry, and I'd like to call the Select Board Business Meeting to order on this 25th day of August. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Before we begin, I'd like to state for the record that not only are we being streamed live on TCTV Cable Station 8 in our YouTube web platform, but this evening's recording will be available for later viewing almost instantaneously as it's being finished up on our YouTube channel. Make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell. That way you won't miss any exciting news content. All right, I can see, good evening, Terry, Julie, Tim. We have our quorum for this evening. Thanks for our other committee members, Matt for joining, Emergency Management in the house, DPW. Thank you for everyone for coming in today. As always, our agenda for this evening has been set no later than 48 hours out by law. It is publicly available at the official source for town information, templetonma.gov. Although I have the discretion as chairperson to add and remove from the agenda, it has been set to allow for time, personnel resources, public awareness. I reserve the right to move agenda items around to best fit our business and guests. Thank you. Okay. All right, first item that we have on our agenda this evening is approval of meeting minutes. And we've got one set of minutes from August 11th. Those are in your packet. See any corrections or otherwise? Can you catch those? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to admit the meeting minutes from August 11th, 2021 to the record.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes of 8/11/21 as presented.
Second.
Great. I have a motion and a second. Any observations on those minutes?
No.
Thought I had seen a typo. Now
I didn't see a typo.
Nope, I'm good. I'm good. Everyone else? All right, on the motion to admit the minutes from August 11th to the record, how do you vote? Terry?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you. Okay, at this time, is there any citizen input? We'll offer that there was some news coming out today where the Education Commissioner did call for mandatory mask use in all K through 12 public schools.
Yep.
I would remind everybody, and you can see it, Emergency Management's got it out on our message boards. The CDC does recommend whenever you're indoors to wear a mask. We have pretty good dispersion tonight, or else I'd probably throw one on myself if anyone's questioning that. I think we need to be very careful right now. Whatever variant comes our way, we've got, we did rescind the emergency management declaration. And I wouldn't see a reason that we would reinstate that, but we just have to make sure that we hold strong to our public health safety measures. So I just offer that as both a select board chair and a concerned resident. Any other public or citizen input? Okay, hearing none, let's jump right into new business. We're going to start off with introductions of new employees. Bob, looks like we've got Mike Winters here with us this evening. If you would like to do an introduction.
Introduce Mike Winters from Wilson. Mike will be joining the DPW teams Monday. I think he's going to work out very well.
Excellent. Specifically, what are you doing down at the DPW?
He's gonna be a driver, operator.
Oh, okay.
operator.
Okay. Jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Awesome. Welcome, Mike. Always my question is, which town do you live in? But Bob's taking care of that. You're one town over.
Yeah, I live in Royalston now. I grew up in Athol.
Excellent. The Central Mass blood
Don't
runs
hold
deep.
that against me.
Never. Well, welcome. Thank you very much for helping out the team. You have an excellent team. We're very supportive of our DPW. Hopefully, when you walk in on your first day, you see all the shiny, brand new equipment that we've got out there. Some has got a couple dents on it. I think we got that dent fixed. But
We sold the excavator.
very appreciative that you're joining our team. Thank you very much, Mike.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Best of luck.
Welcome. How do you like Royalston Road?
I avoid it.
You don't commute that way, do you?
I don't, actually. Yeah, I come down through the firm school. So
That's a long process. Oh, you go that way?
yeah.
Could you do our speed limit, please? We appreciate that up there.
Welcome. All right. Let's see, we've got no appointments this evening. That's correct? We do not. Okay. All right. We are going to start off with the rest of the new business with our public hearing. If you'd like to come up, Ray, Mr. Miller, if you'd like to come up and you're representing Amerigas Propane. Okay, Ray, may I call you Ray?
Yes, sir.
All right. It's a public hearing for the installation of the tank. How the public hearings work, the board will make a motion to open the public hearing. It's kind of like a little mini session of court. We basically have the plaintiff go through what I want to do. Any abutters that got a notice, and the notices in the packet online. Anyone that might have any questions or be opposed to the project has an opportunity to do so. All along, the board may ask questions, but usually after we hear from both sides, if I can characterize it like that. And then I'll close it up after, if there are no more questions, I'll close it up with a final recommendation from you, which is probably just, reinstating or just asking for what, your original ask for is. I close the hearing and then we wind up making a motion if we can. Sounds good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I would make a motion that we would open the public hearing for the tank permit from Amerigas Propane Incorporated.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further consideration or questions? All right. Hearing none on the motion to open the public hearing for the tank permit from Amerigas Propane. How would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. And this hearing is open as of 6:38 p.m. Okay, Mr. Miller, good evening.
Good evening.
We have your application, but if you just like to make a quick presentation on what it is that you're applying for. Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ray Miller. I'm the operations manager for Amerigas Propane for the state of Massachusetts, southern New Hampshire, and eastern Vermont. The application before the board tonight it's really not technically for new business. The facility was built in 1972. It was built by Pyrofrax Propane. Amerigas acquired it over time. Every 5 years, we're required to pass a state fire marshal's inspection. We've passed it every 5 years for the last 30. The last one was performed in October 2016. According to Inspector Wood of the Massachusetts Fire Marshal's Office, the last time the facility was inspected, and every time a facility is inspected, we have 4 in Massachusetts up in this area, we're required to produce the town license as part of the inspection. We've had a couple management changes locally over the last few years. When Inspector Wood was here about a month and a half ago to inspect the facility, we produced all the old OSFM permits. We couldn't find the license. We found the original property card in the file. We found the original set of plans, but the license was nowhere to be found. And thanks to Holly assisting us and through the process, we just figured it would be easier if we applied for a new one. We do not intend on putting anything in that facility at 14 Edgar Street in Baldwinville than already exists and has done so for the last 30
Okay.
years.
Okay. So that's very clear to me. Questions for Mr. Miller?
Right,
Yes, sir.
I'm probably the only one here that's in a butter.
Okay.
I live right across the street.
Yep.
So you're not gonna increase the capacity,
Oh, no.
so you're
Absolutely
just
not.
filing for a license.
Correct. We have an inspection, another 5-year
Yeah, no,
inspection.
I got that, and that's okay. I didn't know if they were trying to make the place even bigger than it already is.
Oh, no.
Okay,
Mr.
it's big enough. Manga,
Yep, could you just state your name for the record?
on a manga.
And you're right across the street
I
on.
live at 9 Edgar Street, directly across the street.
Okay, yep, just wanted that for
And
the.
that was just my concern. My only concern was if they wanted to make it bigger.
Right.
Okay, that was it.
Okay.
Ray would have actually just told me that to save me a trip.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
I didn't realize they were just reapplying for a license. They didn't state that here. They said above or below ground storage tanks.
right.
So I didn't know if they were gonna start burying tanks under the ground or whatnot. I was just kind of curious. That's all.
The only clue that I had in the filing was the total capacity line within it was 70. Other than that, it looked like it was going to be, to me, if I were to read through, it would have been an additional thing. So the
70,000 gallons.
And I
Yep.
apologize for any confusion created over that. However, we were instructed by Inspector Wood to include total capacity of the existing tanks, which the 2 big tanks that are there now are 30,000 gallons
Yep.
each.
Each, right?
Yep.
Each.
30,000 each.
Oh, they're 30 each?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They're 30,000 each. We store 3 trucks there.
Yep.
At any point in time with a capacity of 3,000 gallons each. The tanks that are in the yard don't have propane in them, but technically and legally, if they've had propane in them once, they'll be considered full.
Understood.
And that's why we included all the different sizes in there.
Yep.
Oh, I get it.
And that's one, and then it says you total aggregate quantity of all propane gas to be stored 70,000. So that's where I said, I think this is going to wind up being a question about, is it a new tank or is it the total aggregate size? So, but thank you for clarifying.
You're
that.
welcome.
Any other questions for Mr. Miller? Hey, go ahead. Al.
I just want to comment. So this is a classic turnover rate of town employees type of thing, where I'm sure this permit possibly could have burned in the fire over in, when the town hall was over in Otter River. Could have just not been filed properly, but I looked through the files, couldn't find it. So we really need to
Understood.
get them a new one.
And
then once,
potentially it was from 1972.
right,
Copy.
and once they do get it, Chief Dickey, the fire department renews their permit annually. So they kind of follow up on it.
Mr. LaMontagne?
I can also add, on the notice, my name's mentioned, people will contact me, and I haven't had anybody, so, with the exception of one person tonight that came to the meeting, our office didn't receive any other
Okay.
further correspondence.
Yep, that was the next piece that I was going to move into. Is there anyone against this petition? You just had questions.
That was it.
Okay, thank you for that. Hey, hearing no petitioners, are there any additional questions from the board?
Not a question, just a comment. It
Sure.
sounds like a deficiency was identified. This is the process to rectify.
Agreed.
This time, Mr. Miller, what would be your recommendation?
I would like the license approved. I did meet with Chief Dickey and his lieutenant about 3 weeks ago over there. He toured the facility. I answered his questions and, we started this process.
Thank you for that. Thank you for your recommendation. Okay, anything else from the board? All right, hearing nothing else, I would make a motion to close the public hearing for the tank permit with consideration from Amerigas Propane Incorporated.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none on the motion to close the public hearing for the tank permit from Amerigas Propane, how would you vote? Jeff,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. This hearing is closed as of 6:45 PM.
See you guys later.
All right.
Thank you.
Well,
Well, we have to motion
Yeah.
to approve.
So, okay, on the, coming out of public hearing, would there be any motion with consideration for this application for license from Amerigas Propane for the license to store a maximum quantity of 70,000 gallons of liquid propane gas?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
I move to approve the tank permit for Amerigas Propane Incorporated as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further questions?
30 years. Should be doing this time.
Okay, hearing none on the motion to approve the tank permit for Amerigas Propane as presented, how would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Mr. Miller, thank you for coming in tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. And Holly, thanks again for all your help through this process.
I'll get that to you.
You too.
Right. Okay, next item we have is action related to a second reconsideration for A1 family, also known as doing business as Long Noodles liquor license. Adam or Holly, any quick explanation?
Yeah, just as you can see from the documents, how very particular the ABCC is about their application, and there was just a couple little things. I did call them and they're telling me that it looks good after this and they should be able to
Okay.
move on with getting them approved.
So the property is not leased, they own it. That was what the consideration
They
was. They
own
had to be listed
It was
as
just
the owner.
confusion as to,
Okay,
yeah, how they were listed.
okay. So it's a paperwork drill.
So Holly, this motion is not valid because they still have one more step.
No, what do you mean? No,
So Mr. The investigator, Mr. Hooton, came back and said, hey, I need something that says that they own the, right. And then, so there's the memo that says he owns it, and then he says it's okay. So we, as the local licensing authority, have to grant reconsideration. I would entertain a motion for the reconsideration of Long Noodles liquor license.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the second reconsideration of the new liquor license and transfer for A1 Family Group LLC DBA Long Noodles as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Thank you, Tim. Any further questions on Long Noodles? All right, hearing none. On the motion to approve the second reconsideration of the new liquor license and transfer for A1 Family Group doing business as Long Noodles, how would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Okay, next item on our agenda is action related to Candlelight Cafe's request for a one-day wine and malt license. In reviewing it, looks, Tim Guerin is the requester, and it looks like they're having a chicken barbecue. I didn't have any other questions.
I have just one. Holly, way back, couple within the past 3 years.
1972 way back?
Yeah. Did the chief have a certain hour that we're supposed to close at night for the police station to change hands because they were short-staffed, or is that?
You're talking about the early closing hours?
Yeah.
Yes, that was temporary.
Okay.
Yep.
Just want to make sure.
So that was temporary and it continues to be temporary.
It was temporary.
Has the chief
until-
looked at the hours that they want this?
No. That was temporary until we did renewals for the annual licenses. I haven't gotten this to the chief yet. We can do it pending that, if you want to do that.
What's the normal ending hours for alcohol?
Theirs is 2. So this is their regular,
yeah.
their regular hours.
They're just getting that one-day permit.
Yeah, and they're just having an outside chicken barbecue instead of on their regular premises or their temporary license. premises.
They have that outdoor patio in the back of the facility.
I think this is actually on the ground because the outdoor patio is under that temporary permit that we have.
Yep.
It is, and they're gonna merge.
They're not having entertainment, it's just a barbecue.
I saw that. Any other questions for Alan?
So you're gonna send it over to the chief?
Yes.
But it's the
So, Mr. Chairman, my only concern, it's not really a question, it's the 2 AM. I'm concerned about that.
is that,
But as
that's
far
not an
as,
extension
you
though.
It's not an extension. This is gonna be an outside gathering.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But one area is gonna be for this chicken barbecue. You are not going to tell me that it's not gonna merge to somewhere else on the property that isn't covered by the 2 AM.
No, they know they need to
They're
keep
gonna
it
rope
separate.
it off.
Yeah, I explained that to her. She,
Okay.
Tim's wife Jackie had actually called me and asked me. It's kind of confusing
It
what
is
the premises are
confusing,
with the
just when
temporary.
you see the layout of,
Right,
you
I
know,
did
and I
explain to
support them
her.
100%. The layout would make me a little bit nervous.
Right, so this is just beer and wine. That's all they can have for a for-profit business.
Right,
So beer and wine will be in that roped off area where the chicken barbecue is.
okay,
If they leave that area, they have to leave their alcohol there. And they understood
they
that.
understood how the layout was gonna,
And the police
perfect, thank you.
police get notified for this.
Yes, I'll send,
That,
I'll
that's the
send a
big,
copy
the
of
big
that. to you.
part for, is they're still
Right. I
within their
think
normal
pending
operating
the
hours, but if
chief's-
there's some oversight by anyone that's on shift to make sure that they're complying with that. And I don't know, I can't remember if it was 2 years ago, but they've been in here before for infractions, so I felt pretty good with their reaction to that was, oh my gosh, I didn't know that, I'll redouble my effort.
Yeah, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm not questioning them. I just thought that the chief was in here at one point and he did put a temporary closing at one. because of
And
this, yeah.
we gave him the, I believe, go back and look, but I believe we gave him the authority to, if he came to us to tell us or ask us, it's done now because he made a determination based on his manpower that he didn't need to do that anymore.
That was his original reason, was manpower.
Yeah,
shortage
manpower.
back
Did he
in
come back
19
to us on that?
Back in 19. I think he stated,
I knew it
I
was done.
believe we addressed it when we did the budget stuff that December.
Yeah.
We fixed all the school stuff.
SRO and otherwise, yeah.
Pretty
I was aware that they were done with it because it was a manpower issue.
Right.
Yep.
I didn't know they were done with it. so.
Any other questions or concerns? Okay, then I would entertain a motion to approve this application.
On this one, the motion, should the date need to be postponed due to rain or anything, the board could designate, authorize me to approve another date as needed.
Okay, I see that.
It's in there.
Is a change of date a cause for concern for anyone? The date for this is August 28th.
It's this weekend?
Yeah.
Looks like it's gonna be a good one.
Hopefully it doesn't rain.
It's gonna be toasty.
Saturday.
Looks like it's gonna be a toasty one. so. Mr. Chair, I move to approve the one-day wine and malt license for Candlelight Cafe, Inc. as presented, should this date need to be postponed. And as the board has already approved this event, the board authorized the town administrator to approve another date as needed.
Mr. Chairman, can we add pending
Subject-
review of this request from the police chief?
Sure.
This
Do you
time,
wish your
correct?
motion to be amended?
Yeah.
Okay.
Amended to, just reviewed by the chief.
Thank you.
I agree.
All right, we have an amended motion. Any second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, hearing no further questions on the motion to approve the one-day wine and malt license for Candlelight Cafe is presented, and should it be need to change, the board is giving the authorization to the town administrator to approve to another date as needed. How would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. We have some chicken. Okay, next on our agenda this evening is action related to the emergency management cert, cert volunteer hours special article. It wasn't capitalized, sorry. Thought it meant certificate. Emergency management cert volunteer hours special article. Who's taking that?
Mr. Chair, if I could have Mr. Curtis come up here with Mr. Dixon. I remember the plan going back.
Yeah, I see it already in the draft warrant.
It's I already included the draft warrant, but I still want to get the board's approval, if you will, on this, because they did approve our volunteer hours plan. And Rich is here on a couple of items, so I'll leave it to.
Go ahead, Rich.
Well, I'm just looking to get this approved so that it's on the warrant and there's, no questions before we get there.
Okay. Could you, in a thumbnail, talk about where the numbers or money started and how we're to this point?
Okay.
Hopefully it can be
I
quick.
believe it's $24,447. These are hours of volunteer work done by myself and the CERT team combined. And at 1477, 1577, whatever it was, I can't remember now. But it was a very low amount compared to what they usually give. But that's what was approved for this event. And it totaled out to 24,447.
Right.
And
Now,
it's,
normally it's just a figure,
and it usually goes right into the general fund and gets used by the town.
right?
But we were looking as a way to help help fund the CERT and emergency management team, which with money we don't normally get.
Right.
It's like a freebie, technically. It's money the town didn't have to spend to get, and doesn't cost anything. That way we can get some needed equipment and whatnot for CERT emergency management.
Whereas you're historically funded fairly low.
Yes, $1,750 a year is my expense budget.
So
And-
an opportune time
Yeah.
where there's been ample funds to come through, and based on a pre-established volunteer hour metric or system for reimbursement, this is basically coming back to where it should in the emergency management.
And it's also set up so that in the future, any reimbursable event, such as COVID, it could be anything, snowstorm, whatever event, if it's reimbursable and there's volunteer hours by CERT or emergency management, we'd do the same thing. I don't think we'd ever, it'd take another COVID issue to get us what we're getting this time.
Yeah.
But normally it's very little, anything that's there.
Absolutely.
So I noticed that it was originally 36,567. Is that?
That is, you're at the very bottom line, I think,
Yeah,
on that is the food pantry.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't grab their money. That was money that wasn't volunteered by us.
Nice.
So I didn't go for that.
So you
Yeah, I
basically
see it.
want to take your money from our bank to be utilized for.
Right.
what
It's
purpose?
going to go into an account,
Right.
which is set up by the accountant. And I draw out of that the same way I would out of my account, my expense account.
You have a spend plan already?
Well, we do, but we don't. In other words, we've been given 3 years to expend this. And if we did it, and if we had to expend it before the end of the fiscal year, we'd probably spend it foolishly. But now that we've got some time, we can really look into the items that we need and search around a little bit. I think it's a much better,
Items or training.
either one.
Nice.
Which is this number based on the 75% or is this the bump up to the 100%?
There was no 75%. It was all 100%.
FEMA was playing with numbers for a while.
Right. At the very beginning, they were going with 75. And then the president jacked it back up to 100. So,
Good for us.
and that money's already there. I mean, that was in the first monies that she put in through CARES, I believe. So,
Rich, I think we're all behind you. I just want to make sure when we take this to the fall town meeting that someone understands that it's not coming from free cash as a start. This is basically coming from a reimbursement in the language. It's coming from free cash. We just need to be able to explain that should someone say, why are we giving them 24 when historically we haven't done that? So same thing that I kind of asked you tonight, just be prepared to do the same thing. I think any of us should be prepared.
I'll have Mike
to do
Dixon
that.
prepared for that one.
Okay,
Yeah, he'll be out, so.
okay.
Geez, how many more years till Florida's underwater?
Or better not.
They say Miami's gonna be 64% by 2060, 2040, 64% Miami will be underwater.
I'm definitely in a floodplain.
Oh, no. I can give you a grant thing for that, for FEMA.
Any other questions for Rich?
Get little rates on your flood insurance.
My only concern is a few years back, he got a whopping 75% budget increase. That's.
My favorite was when he got the grant for 10.
$750 for a $6,000 return, which is about his average grant income to the town since he's been in his position. So that was
We're getting 2 grants a year, the Emergency Management Performance Grant and the Citizen Corps Program Grant. And it's $2,500 for the Cert and $2,750, I think, for the emergency management. And it's pretty constant.
but I've done enough. I went back and I've looked at the numbers and averaged it out.
Oh, yeah.
It's about $6,000 a year for that extra $750, that almost focus.
That's why they paid me the big bucks.
That's right.
What was the grant you spent down to a penny?
That was that might have been this last Cert grant. It was right to down to a penny, I think. Your budget's pretty close. Yeah.
99.9% executed.
Yes.
Wow.
I couldn't find anything for a cent to buy, so it was kind of tough.
Come on, gumballs, right?
Oh,
Not
can't
even,
do
not
that
even,
anymore.
25 cents.
Free for a nickel.
All right. If there are no further questions for Rich or Mike, then I would entertain a motion that would affect the fall town meeting warrant.
I move to, Mr. Chairman,
Please go ahead.
I move to approve adding a special article on the fall town meeting warrant for $24,447 to be taken from free cash and put into for emergency management Cert in accordance with the emergency management Cert volunteer hours plan the board previously approved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none on the motion to add a special article for 24,447 to be taken from free cash and used in the emergency management Cert volunteer hours previously approved. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thanks for coming tonight, guys.
Yep.
Well, actually, you probably shouldn't run away because we're going to be talking about hazard mitigation next.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I probably should have just
Got to earn that. big
given you,
money.
I was giving you a little exercise. I
I'll get
probably needed to. All right, next action, next agenda item is action related to the hazard mitigation plan.
Okay, our hazard mitigation plan for the town is done every 5 years. It ended March or May 26th, I believe it was.
September.
Yeah, May 26, 2021.
So right now, we're without a current hazard mitigation plan. Now, I know FEMA, when we did the application process for going through this COVID reimbursement stuff, they required copy showing, the face sheet and the sign-off sheet showing that we have a current hazard mitigation plan. Now, I know this affects some grants, not all, but some grants.
Mhm.
If we don't have an active hazard mitigation plan in place, we're not eligible for these grants. Whether or not they would hold that against us because of COVID and not give us an extension, I don't know. But if it ever came up, where we've already applied basically for the FEMA, if we decide to use any more expenses through FEMA, I think that's already
Yeah.
covered. But if we had to. do
These are
another-
regional grants. So it says that 22 other communities, theirs expired too.
Yes.
Okay.
So far, I know of one, I can't remember which one it was now, but they had just helped them get it done. And that's when I talked about prices and how much does it cost? Because I could have sworn it cost only around $1,700 or $2,000. And they told me 25,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I know that they're quite comprehensive, but it sounds like they bring in a contractor to come in and do assessments, the math, everything.
well, they have
the soup to
several
nuts.
meetings with all of us in town. All the department heads are basically on that emergency planning committee.
Yeah.
And we all meet and we determine what we've got. We identify all our hazards and
What was the title of what we just went through? Remember we-
MS4,
Huh?
MS4?
No, we just went through one about hazard mitigation,
Talking about the vulnerability.
the vulnerability assessment.
Yeah.
Does that feed into it? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I wonder if we, as part of this process, so I saw that that you reached out and he's going to start the process. I wonder if we mention that buys down some of that to say, oh, you've already done a vulnerability assessment. Great. Your price is now $1,700. I don't know.
I could check.
I mean, that was a grant that we had for the vulnerability assessment.
MVP.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'll be interesting to see if that could count for some of the actual assessment. So what's our next step?
Honestly, I'm waiting for a phone call to find out what actions we have to take. I know, but if they want the $25,000 up front before they start, then I don't know.
Montechusett Regional Planning Commission. I mean, if there's they said that it's a grant program, the BRIC, Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Grant Program, the BRIC. So I'm hoping that it's a formality that they say it's $24,000 and that the BRIC would cover, especially if we're going into it with some of the 22 communities that have expiring plans, hazard mitigation plans. So I have my fingers crossed that it'll be covered by a grant.
Which comes out in the fall.
But I
it
would say
says.
ARPA funds would be, to me, a pretty,
They, at the last meeting, and I've been really busy doing dumb stuff. I'm gonna forward the email that they sent out. It was about their policies within MRPC, and then some of the programs that are going around with towns with different grants and stuff.
yeah.
And I have to go back and reread it, because right off the top of my head, I don't want to speak. But there are some communities that have been doing things that Templeton has already done, and a lot of it has been covered by grants. Some of it with this pile of federal money that's out there, operating and following. And I think it's for a follow-up, if I remember the next agenda, because I just got another one today about one of the in-person meetings and they've changed some stuff. But
Yeah, they've
I
already
can,
met.
like I said, when I send that email out, it'll all be there so all members can see. It outlines the plan. It's like 4 sections in the email, different things. It's their funding, the programs they're doing, potential programs and grants that they anticipate with the FEMA money, the ARPA funds, and whatever the next one is, page, 256 in that 300 thing that Tim keeps track of.
Yep.
because I watched part of one meeting and I was just, I lost patience with it.
Yeah.
But he did send me something. I was just looking to see if I had it here. And I don't in my text, but he had sent me something about grants quite a while ago.
It should be coming out. It says NOFO comes out in the fall, notice of funding opportunity in the fall, so.
I just don't know how long we want to wait or how long we can wait before it affects us.
December,
It's not-
those-
Or
not
even
a-
requesting you said COVID, like requesting a waiver to basically extend it for a year to be able to get into, you say, we are pursuing this process and looking for the notice of funding opportunity. But we would request, I don't know if you request it or you just declare it. If we wind up from a learned group, say, let's put a year extension on this based on sound judgment, then I don't know.
Maybe the reason why that's a lot of community.
It really is.
There's probably more than 25. Part of the reason why they've all lapsed because they're concentrating on other stuff.
Yeah.
We can't get to.
They bundled them. I know in one of the documents that I saw on this, that you scroll to the different towns, like they have hyperlinks in it. So they discuss the hazard mitigation plan, and then you jump to whatever community that you have. So it doesn't, I'm not shocked by the 22.
Right, the hazard mitigation plan is all the towns.
Yeah.
You have to go to your section.
Did you happen to see what it says? Please note, communities interested in pursuing this grant to update their hazard mitigation plan are strongly encouraged to submit a statement of interest. And you can have this to MEMA ahead of the FY21 fall funding cycle. You can find links to the statement of interest forms on MEMA's BRIC and FMA grant programs page. Not that.
It's all, yeah, that's a good point. I think it's all part of
So
the process
if
that you're
you're
telling us that
interested-
you're gonna follow.
If you're interested,
Chair, on that same page, the second paragraph, that last sentence is the one that I'm looking at. We have the organizational capacity to draft an HMP, your hazard mitigation plan, specific to any community or available to help prepare a grant application.
well, they help.
The way I'm interpreting that, and I could be wrong, it sounds like they're willing to help us write the grant.
Yeah, sounds good. That's what I need.
If there's any, so your concern was about the time. We may ask the question to Mr. Haney, a FEMA rep, or
I believe it's Miss Haney.
Miss Haney, I'm sorry.
That's who I'm waiting for a phone call from, and I haven't got it.
Okay, so with Miss Haney, even just to talk about how would we have a gap, gap insurance? If we would request a waiver, or we would, make a declaration, that the select board, extend for 1 year based on what we're doing.
If it costs the 25 grand, but what if they're helping with grants and it's not?
Well, I'm not worried about it actually happening. I mean, we've got money to be able to do that. We're sitting on $2.5 million that basically says you're supposed to be doing these kind of things. I'm not worried about it. What I'm worried about is what Rich is talking about, to say it expired on May 26th.
And how
So if
long
he's
do you wanna
doing
wait?
other things that require this document, he's like, what should I do if we don't have that?
It's not just me. It could be any town office.
Right? I understand what you're saying.
Anybody putting in for a grant, if we don't have a hazard mitigation plan in place, a current one, we could get denied because we don't have it.
So the thing that Rich said, he had to put 2 sheets of paper. He had to put the cover and then the signature paper. We would add in an extra piece of paper that said, we hereby have given a waiver of 1 year to May 25th, 2022, based on a recent vulnerability assessment and the emergency management. I just list the factors. I mean, we've been pretty spun up as an emergency management team within town. Whether it's someone granting a waiver or we declare it ourselves based on, again, solid facts, I would not have a problem doing that. We're going to get it done. There's money there to do it. It's just, it's
if we-
taking care of the gap between when that gets awarded and actually completed. Rich is telling us, hey, something may depend on this in the interim.
But he'll find out, because I'm confused. If he can get a grant, and we don't have to pay 25,000 of the ARPA, that's 25,000 we can put to something else.
Yeah. I'm quite confident that this is gonna pay for itself. As it did before.
The grant. means-
And the people that are giving this will probably have the same kind of funds that we're sitting on. So I think that there's gonna be funds all around, and because this is very specific.
It's very specific, and I
Yeah.
would just reach out to her, call her up. Hey, it's still waiting on your call. You gonna help me with this?
Right, right.
And can you give me an extension in the meantime for another year to May 26, 2022?
So moved.
Phone conversation, boom.
Right.
Right? I mean, that's what I'm reading. Am I missing it? Because I agree with your, I kept
That's all
rereading
That's all
your,
I'm understanding.
Oh,
your
you
paragraph in
understand.
here, and I'm
I'll
like,
send an email
okay,
out
we should be good.
with my findings on it.
Good.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Pursue and what to do in the interim.
Good.
Thanks, Rich.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next agenda item, action related to fall town meeting date. Mr. Lamontagne.
Chair. Board.
That's
Draft. We're looking at having all town meeting on November 3rd at 6 p.m. And that would be my recommendation to this board. I think a little bit after Halloween, with my be a likelihood of getting more folks to attend the fall town meeting. So that would be my standpoint on this. We could do it that day. And I did have the town clerk look into the auditorium, and it is available that evening as well.
Okay. We normally have like conversations about weekday versus weekend. I think we're past that. And it's a special.
Quite a few articles already on it though.
I see,
Yeah.
I
Are we
see.
allowed to ask which ones got on there?
We're not really doing that tonight, though.
Okay.
You have the draft, which is excellent,
Yeah.
and I mean, we don't have to read through them because the public has them in the agenda packet. Our task tonight in the two agenda items is to set the date and then open the fall town meeting warrant for the citizens petition. So we'll have time to do that. Especially if we have anything else that we want to see on the warrant,
I just was confused by
the fact that it was in.
that one. Yeah. I don't know how that's done before, but
So, Mr. Chairman, I move to set the fall town meeting date for Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021 at 6 p.m. at the Narragansett Auditorium.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions?
need to go through.
Okay, hearing none on the motion to set the fall town meeting date for Wednesday, November 3rd at 6 p.m. at the Narragansett Middle School Auditorium. How would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Next item is action relating to open the fall town meeting warrant to citizen petitions.
Mr. Chair, I move to open the fall town meeting warrant to citizens petitions this evening and for the warrant to close on Tuesday, September 14th, 2021 at 4 p.m.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
We'll get the notice up on the webpage tomorrow.
And just to make, I want to answer Terry's question. We'll have more than enough time to kind of whack through and talk through these agenda items, correct? I'm sorry, warrant articles.
Yes.
Okay.
The board would have to
We're
approve
just
the
gonna open
warrant.
it,
We
but
have
I
to
just want to
approve
make
it.
sure. Huh?
Yeah,
The
we
board
have
will
to
have to approve
approve
the
it.
warrant.
All right, on the motion to open the fall town meeting warrant to citizen petitions and for it to close on Tuesday, September 14th, 2021 at 4 p.m. How would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you. Next item is action related to the Community Compact Grant for IT.
So on this one, well, remember, we went for the community compact money for best practices for our wage and compensation study, where we received the funding, which is ongoing right now, and actually you will be getting an update on that at their next meeting on where we are with that. But this one's particularly for the IT grant that we would be eligible for. If you go online, you can see quite a few of these communities received pretty good amount of money to support initiatives. And I was talking with Bob Soza, DPW director, about the need to update our cemetery department. Inventory, not the inventory, but the software system itself. They have some paper records, they have some on the computer. If we could centralize all of those and deploy a software where they can pull it right up on their tablet, get everything, billing, all the other components done, and a grant to cover all that, I think would be a good opportunity to have the town modernize that cemetery department, if you will.
That's where-
that falls under the buildings and grounds.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm looking at the memo that came out from the Lieutenant Governor, and it says, using the transformative powers of IT, we can drive innovation, make government more efficient, save taxpayer money, and make it easier for residents to interact and transact with their local government. Is it a variable grant or is it set? Is it, meaning is, is it $5,000?
It goes up there, it's all over.
Okay.
Depending on what your needs are. This one, I look at it from the standpoint, if they had everything centralized and somebody called and said, hey, you have this spot available for whatever might be, then they would just form it. The building and grounds department would be able to just
Okay.
look it right up and get an answer right back, instead of saying, oh, is it a paper record? Is
Yeah.
it on the computer? They have to
Why don't we go for
back.
some money? I mean, if we're talking about the website a lot, why don't we grab some money for that?
Well,
You know what I mean?
you have it,
Right.
budget.
Basically ask Holly to do all of that work, right? And whether we wind up having an enhanced service from another company, or we wind up having more money to be able to fund stuff that is not even part of her job description.
I looked at this more of an operational standpoint, building grounds as teaching.
That way we don't have any more broken links.
And we could get a software system there to make it
Okay.
more efficient for them to run the operation. I think that could
I'm
be,
all for it. I mean, I don't think you have a select board member that would turn away a grant. I'm just, in terms of scope, that last part there caught my eye in terms of interacting with your residents. I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying, open up the aperture, the site picture to include how we can, put some money towards adequately funding the website stuff that we know that we need. We're saying that, I mean, if you could talk with Holly offline about how maybe no money might be a good
I can
idea,
see
but
it.
if there's something that we can actually get where we can devote funds to that rather than just. You guys can talk. IT. Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve applying for the community compact IT grant as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further questions or considerations on that IT grant? And it's targeted for IT.
software systems
Got
would
it.
fall to the department under the IT portion.
Right. Before we did the best practices, now we're going after the IT grant. Okay, understood. Mr. Castle still there? I noticed that the other one, the municipal fiber, is it, does that mean like broadband fiber?
That would be something I don't have to.
I don't know, it's maybe something down the road. It sounds like these are rolling grants that get announced every year or otherwise.
They do, they're rolling grants.
Yeah.
They announce them all the time, every year.
I don't know, Steve, maybe at some point you look at that section and say, yeah, I want fiber.
Yeah, I want fiber.
Maybe next year. This year we'll do IT, next year we'll do fiber. We'll talk about it in our goals section.
You want fiber, put that on the grocery list next
Yeah.
time you go.
Yep.
Okay, on the motion to approve applying for the Community Compact IT grant as presented, how would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Okay, next agenda item is action related to the bank interest letters. Okay, last time, we were dealing with the fact that Athol Savings Bank was closing the branch in Baldwinville. Adam came to us and, he had the letters. We were able to look at them ahead of time. I thought that their wording could be different on them. And I think as a board, we kind of said, well, what is going on with that? So in your packets, you have the red line and then the final version of some of the edits that I made. Adam, were you able to talk with Athol Savings Bank about what they plan to do with that building?
I did. I spoke with one of the VPs of Athol Savings Bank. They are still waiting on, they appreciated the call. They were disappointed, that closing the branch because they like the community.
Yeah,
but due to-
Kathleen King sent in a lot of her correspondence with them. So I see that they were trying to be as politically correct or, we're sorry, but we've made this decision. It was a hard decision to make. We made that. So I saw that.
And they were still waiting on hearing back from the Division of Banks on the closure. She did indicate she would let me know when she gets word. But she understood the standpoint because I said, the select board instructed me to reach out to you because we would like to keep you in town, the Athol Savings Bank. But if you are closing, we are looking at being proactive and we want to be able to reach out to other banks. We understand that it would be a private acquisition. However, we do want to give you a courtesy before we proceed forward with sending any letters out. So that's basically the conversation. That's what I have.
GFA.
Those were the ones that were presented to us. So I just changed. Yeah, even if the language you see is the same. So if we wanted to expand to offer to other banks, I don't see why we wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's even better because it becomes competition for the banks to say, well, how many other banks did you send these to? One other one. Maybe they balk a little bit, but if we say we sent it to 5 and they jump at the chance. But they didn't give you an indication. Did they say, yeah, we're closing the branch? But if they get that approval, are they going to sell the building? What are they doing with
They
it?
haven't said anything. They're waiting.
I would assume they'd be
We
selling.
were waiting on the decision from the,
Why own real estate and have to pay property taxes on it if you're not doing anything with it?
I asked about the plans. They said they're just waiting on the approval. I didn't want to push the conversation too.
So
Yeah,
these
it's
letters
very
basically.
sensitive right now, I would be careful that we're not pushing down their door. They're not even out. Let the dust settle for a little bit with those employees.
Yeah.
It's a difficult task for them to close this bank.
Yeah.
I'm very, very familiar with it. I go back 30 years with this bank, with all they've done for a lot of
1990.
people in town. So I think we should be sensitive. They don't close till September 6th. So I don't think it's a big rush to make an action on this. I do personally think that it's a huge rush.
Right, pushing on them,
Just
but
push it on them. It's not-
potentially opening some opportunities, I think.
Opening opportunities when the opportunities arise to start looking
Sure.
out there, you know, in my opinion.
Well, I mean,
They're all done on September 6th.
I saw-
I'm aware of that.
the only thing that, the definitiveness from Mrs. King, from Kathy, was, she said in a memo to us, she says the branch is definitely closing
Yeah.
effective September 6th. I agree with you. I don't want to be pushing on Athol when they've been good to us for
Right.
30 years. I actually pulled up the date because it was important to me to understand how long have they been there?
I mean,
And, you know, using our awesome web tools that we have, I was able to see when they purchased that property, which was 1990. So, yeah, maybe not push them out of the building, but, you know, like Kathleen is looking, Kathy had said to us, she's like, I really would like to see a bank in there. All right, well, let's start hunting.
Her husband too.
Yep. Who was the original author of the letter? Oh, Margot?
She worked in our senior work off. She ran
Yeah.
out of stuff.
The letter, I thought it was very well written. I just wanted to try and change some of the nuances coming from, it was, if it's gonna come under our signature, I just wanted to change some of those nuances as you can see. And, you know, writing in the military for 30 years, I wanted to take the jargon out of it as well. But I mean, that's all style. So Margot, if you're watching, I'm sorry, you know, it's just a different style.
And
Your letter
Kathy,
was fine.
Kathy kept it to one page.
Yes.
I noticed that right away.
Yep.
always good to keep one piece.
So are we?
So we taking no action? Are we
No,
making
if you like the letter, then let's tell them that we'll do it and we'll sign it. Do you like the letter?
Yeah,
Do you
the
like
letters were
like the way
fine.
forward? All right.
But I was just listening to Julie saying, wait till September. I wasn't sure if she was saying, suggesting wait till September 6th and not push it. Give them a chance to. So there's,
My only other thought too is that are we only seeking out one other bank? I mean, I think we should make it a competition. We should
we got to.
automatically go to one friendly
Fidelity.
neighbor
there's
Yeah, we're going
and go, hey,
Fidelity.
by the way, if they offer it up, you want it?
I thought credit union is small and up and coming.
Would there be two, so the board would suggest to send it off to these two as
Like
well as
two
any
or
other?
three, or I don't know, to just
Sure.
look for the possibilities.
You know, it costs very little to send out,
You know.
something, yeah.
Yeah, just, looking for interest.
Did you say FL credit?
Yeah, Alpha Credit Union. Is there a Santander or TD? Is there a TD? Gardner? What's over by,
I also suggest you have citizen, excuse me, not citizens, workers you have over in Gardner that could be an option.
what's the one at
Fidelity.
Ocean State? Not Ocean.
That was
State.
Santander, they closed,
They closed.
the one that was, not Ocean State, but that was, Big Lots,
Big Lots,
Tempe
right.
Plaza, that was Santander, they closed.
What about Gardner?
But there's also IC Credit Union, that's a possibility, they're fairly close.
Say that again?
IC Federal Credit Union, they're out of Fitchburg.
Actually, Marlboro, right?
IC is in Fitchburg.
Form letter.
I thought they started.
DCU is Marlboro.
Digital Credit Union, their closest branch is Leominster.
Credit Union in Marlboro. too.
There may be.
People use DCU though.
Yeah.
DCU is another one, they're getting bigger and kind of expanding as well.
They're expanding.
Yeah, DCU is another possibility, I'm just throwing things out there at this point.
Thanks.
One page. I really do. I'm just
Good.
No, this is
expanding my
kind
thought.
this is kind of the double-edged sword. Yeah, we're not gonna push ASB out. We know they're closing, but
Right.
let's open the door and let's
Mhm.
invite other agencies to look.
Absolutely.
Just take a look. I mean, I'm sure they all know that it's gonna be a vacant bank building. They're on the same circle,
If it was a list of banks, would it be exclusive or inclusive? I'm just trying to think of motion language. I move to approve the inclusive list.
Or any other, I would say any other things deemed by the town administrator.
Okay. So I'm writing it right now.
I initially said Citizens as well. You might want to reach out to them as well because they had a branch at Stop and Shop at that building in Gardner that was closed when they, when that went out as well. I know there's probably people who are still working with them. I know I'm one of them personally, so
Oh, nice. That would be nice.
just as another, that's another option.
Let's see.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Your input is appreciated.
Okay, I move to approve welcome letters being sent to, at a minimum, GFA, Fidelity, Athol Credit, Santander, Workers, IC Federal, TCU, and Citizens, among others, and for the board to sign each. Ooh, we're gonna be signing a bunch.
Second,
Motion and second. Hearing nothing further on the motion to approve welcome letters being sent to that list of banks and for the board to sign each. How would you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Julie?
yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
Okay.
I will. I wrote it down. I'll give it back to her.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, and the last item of new business is action related to town property use policy.
Chair, I heard back from town council and just on passing that over to you. On number 1, they recommended a couple of changes. Just so you have that.
I can't.
Yes, please go ahead and present.
I believe this stemmed from the last.
These are one pagers?
Yeah, it's just to replace that. top
Just the
page.
top page. It started with what we had, the cheerleaders came in to get to use the fire station and then having the forms in here. What we ended up using, if you go to second to last page in your packet, is the town property use application.
Yeah.
Select Board Member Bennett brought up discussing this at the meeting. He also put the form in here too that we could use as a template. So what I did is I put this together. Holly and I worked on drafting this policy. She spent quite a bit of time putting it all together because it's something that we should have either as a standalone policy. But we wanted to get something in front of the board so we could start discussing where you want to go with this and formalizing the process. I think this is something that we came up with. The board could delegate me to handle process, if you will, and we can check off this box, clean up another area that we need to formally adopt process it. Leave it at that. Holly, did you want to add anything further? I know you spent a lot of time on this.
Basically, a couple of former board members had brought this up, and there was one that was quite lengthy and one that was quite short. So I took pieces out of both and sort of merged them together and put in what I thought. And I talked to a few departments on what they thought would be good. I did also send it out to all the department heads that are involved in it. Haven't heard anything back yet, so I guess they must like it.
I have two things with this. I don't know if we do a good job of calling out an agency. I saw some language that talked about the policy versus the application. You know, if I read the policy, page 2 of the policy, it talks about Templeton resident, non-resident, for both under 100 and over 100, and then nonprofit, and then that last column for town sponsored. Most people that come to us are organizations or businesses. So for the policy to point more to the singular person, is there any language that helps me understand that? The actual application does have organization, but they don't seem like they gel together. Name of event organizer, that's the person though. So therefore that goes to item 5A, the permit fee schedule. And then you would, person that would come to you for the permit, you'd say, are you a Templeton resident or not? Are you a nonprofit, or, is Jackie Prime coming in the office with them as a town sponsored event? But more often than not, you have, so then that becomes the issue of someone looking at the policy and say, if it's Otter Rivers, how do you differentiate between an organization and a person? If Otter River Sportsman's Club comes, is because they are doing business in Templeton, are they a Templeton resident? What if their president is from Athol?
Agreed.
I would say
There's some
if
gray
the
area.
business is in town, where is the wording that you're talking about?
So 5A, permits fee schedule for
Mhm.
Templeton resident. It's $50 per day and $100 security deposit. So let's say what was the name, the jazz group that came through? Oh, that was sponsored.
It was telling
The
them.
bad, or if, let's say they weren't sponsored, let's say if it's an out of town group that comes in and they want to do a concert, Lions or something, I don't know, they want to do a concert on there. How do we, if it's an agent, if it's an organization, how do you determine then how they fit into the permit fee schedule?
Well, it depends. If it's a non-profit organization, it would be cheaper than
Okay.
if you're a resident.
Okay, so they didn't have their paperwork. They're just a regular profit business. Now what do you do? Do you have anybody in your business that lives in Templeton?
No, I think if it was out of town business, they pay the out of town fee.
Okay,
I think there should be preference for Templeton residents and Templeton businesses.
okay.
That was my thought. And that was on.
Then I would
that was
ask
on
that
the-
that language would change under permit fee schedule. So it would say Templeton resident or organization.
Okay,
Oh, you just
Resident
wanna add
slash
that language.
business, yes. To me, then, it is not only clear that that's what the guidance would be, but then it then lines up with this application as well. So all you got to do is just be more specific in 5A in the fee schedule.
what about the nonprofit? Do you think, we're saying this, I think nonprofit for a Templeton nonprofit should have a little bit better of a deal than a Fitchburg nonprofit. So maybe that should be a little tiered.
No, I
No,
wouldn't go that
just-
route.
If it's nonprofit, it's nonprofit.
If it's nonprofit, it's nonprofit. Where they're coming from, it doesn't matter.
Right.
That's how I would look at it.
Yeah.
That-
501c3 is 501c3. I don't care.
And a Templeton nonprofit, they're obviously going to do something
Yeah.
here within the boundary. The other thing that I had is under the authority. So this says, the select board hereby delegates to the town administrator the power to authorize the use of town property for special events. We would never see this again.
You wouldn't see the applications, no. And my thought for that was, we're gonna get them quite often. We're gonna get them, 30 days ahead. It's gonna bog down a meeting if it's really not necessary. If we have these procedures in place, and if it's questionable, then, Adam would probably talk to the board individually, or we could bring it to a board meeting. But on a regular basis, it just seems, the cultural council is gonna be sponsored by Jackie as a town entity to have a concert. It just seems
Yeah. I
to
You
bog
know,
things down.
I respect a lot of your guidance. I don't agree with you on that one. I understand that, like, we just approved one tonight, or dissimilar. I know we're talking about town use versus the permit, but that was like 3 days, they just happened to get one in. And with this, as it's written, you would not have that worry because he's here. And he doesn't go anywhere, even on his vacation, he still answers his phone. Stop it. I feel by putting this policy in place, that I feel like I'm disconnecting this board with its property and.
But if you look at it how it used to be done, the DPW director or cemetery commissioner at the time would be like, oh, you want to use it? Sure, go ahead and use it. Yeah, so we're trying to
We
put
got
it
into
a
a
little more
real-
formal
lot of
and make,
sticking.
we'll make sure that they have everything they need. They have their, liability insurance and all that. If it's not
I
town
still think
sponsored,
that
but
we should be in the loop. I agree with Mike, though. We should be aware of what's coming, when, how, so that if we get questions from residents, we can say, we're well aware that that event's coming, in 2
you
weeks.
want to be aware, or do you
whatever.
want to come for the board to vote on?
I don't know that we need
That's an
to
interesting
vote
question.
on. I think that we need to be well aware of it.
I mean, in that case, I could
In
just, if I
advance.
approve one, I could notify the board.
Notify the
Well,
board.
and I
And all
promised
the
this board
details,
2 years
even the
ago, I remember
coordinators.
talking with Jeff about having, this action roster, and I actually did build it, and I've done nothing with it. I actually started to fill it in, but the purpose of that was so that we would not lose sight of some of the things. Like 2 years ago, one of my first meeting, Mr. Drury came in and he had, the issue with the meters or otherwise. And we say, it's like a say what we do what we say kind of situation. So I get it. I get that we would be able to have some visibility, but it takes us out of the loop. And I don't know where I would want to try and.
Because, and this is just, some of it is experience on the board and some of it goes, way back. But to your point about having records and following what we do and what we vote on and say, because it's almost as if you get a new board and somebody comes in, I want to do this. Yep. And then, I don't know, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. The board voted to have this in place, and then you just let them do it this way, which is which. And there was that disconnect of, you didn't remember what you weren't tracking what you voted on or what allowed and how you did things, I like, yeah, you wanted to use that? Go ahead. And then somebody else comes in, well, you got to do this and this. Well, the last board I came in to last year, they let me, this is now. I looked over this and scanned it real quick, and I came up with some questions on different things, such as, and I don't see it, listed in like the use permit fees and stuff. But right now, and it's not a lawn sign, one of these little signs that there's a bunch of them on the common for farmers, this or that. There's a sign that's basically a trailer. It's for the Lions Club. It's been there for a while. To me, that's using town property. I mean, that's not the town putting the message boards there. So I didn't see anything in here covering those items. It's sitting on town property and it's not really doing anything. DPW might have to move it when they cut the grass and stuff. And no, we don't have, and this has been brought up before, a sign bylaw, restricting what, where, who, stuff. But to me, that's a trailer type of thing. It's not a big one, but it is like a trailer that's towed there, that's sitting on town property, and I don't see it covered in here.
Yeah, we can't even put out.
And my next issue is the parking plan and public safety. Didn't see anything regarding handicap parking and handicap access and what issues that raises if, and it takes one person to show up and, well, how do I get here? How do I get there? Well, the town policy says you have a parking plan in public. Well, where do I park to, get in my wheelchair or my whatever your situation is, that's covered by that. Then I see the thing on waste management and recycling, and it talks about, get together with the DPW and we encourage recyclables. But then you go to the form and it says, I agree to leave town property exactly as it was when I arrived, including taking any trash with me. To me, it's a little confusing point. My next question is the serving of alcohol or tasting. At the craft fire, and this goes back, I will say at least back to 2011, maybe the Rolodex is a little dusty. Hardwick Winery used to come to sell, to do a wine tasting. And they wanted to do it at the craft fair. And the thing was alcohol on town property. Now, they assured that selectmen, we're just having tastings. You taste the wine if you want to buy a bottle here. So it was like a tasting and a selling. So it was agreed. They said, well, if you can find private property, and they got a deal with somebody because each year they came, that was their thing. We want to do a wine tasting at the crafts fair and sell wine, and it's at this house. It's not on town property. And I don't see that. And we're telling people that you can't smoke on town properties. We have a bylaw on that. But we're going to let them drink or taste. Okay, well, I showed up, I tasted a fifth of Jim Beam before I got here, and I'm tasting a couple of these things, and something happens to me. Where you coming from? The tasting on the common, approved by the Board of Selectmen. I'm
confused.
personally thinking as a selectman, and I'm not a teetotaler, I drink, but thinking as a selectman, I think
Julie, come on.
having booze on town property is just a bad move. Also,
Can I ask a question?
boxes, what's that?
Do you want me to let you, I just had a question on that. I'm
These are my points that I think I think deserves further discussion before I would be ready to vote on this. Also, boxes, well, normally routinely referred to as porta potties. What
Okay.
kind of facilities are we going to have, if any, for if there's food, there's this, there's that? I mean, somebody's got to go use it. If you don't have a place, well, people find a place, and that's not always the best. Hey, that's just reality. And then there's, again, the handicap issue. You have to have a couple or one of this, and how long they would be there, and is there a display? Don't leave them there for 3 days. Time frame to come get them. And also, I noticed we have Gilman Way listed, but we don't have Houghton Park listed. I suppose we could have another, or I see Gilman Way, but I didn't see Houghton Park. If somebody wanted to have something there.
Is that the one in Otter River?
correct.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good catch.
And it's just like I said, I scanned through it. I noted those things, and those are just questions I have that I think would like clarification before.
Before Julie goes, I have a question. So I understand what you're saying about the alcohol service or tasting in the form. Is alcohol allowed on town property or not? I don't know the answer to that question.
Like I said, historically, at the crafts fair, the Hardwick Winery that used to come, and I don't know if we didn't have a craft fair last year. I don't think the year before. I don't know if they've come. I don't recall them coming in the last couple of years. But
I totally understand. I remember that.
they
Yeah,
wanted to do that, and it was like, well, and
because the board said so.
it was.
All right.
And it might have been, some of the reasoning might have been that they were selling the wine rather than just tasting, but that was their object, come taste our wine, and if you want some, buy it. But it was going to be like, you don't kick back, crack a bottle and sit there and drink. But it's just, again, thinking as a selectman, I'm not against drinking, and nothing like that. I don't want to try to impose.
So as
everybody
part of
got-
this policy, if someone was getting the proper license, then you think that the policy could allow for it. It would just
No,
need
I
the
just think
safety.
I just think it's a bad idea because of the things that can happen outside of a
Okay.
tasting or having a drink. Like I said,
Okay.
you show up, And some people, you know, they can walk up, have 8 drinks and they talk fine and have another one and then.
I
you know,
understand what
boom.
you're saying now.
I just
But
think.
there's not a
for the
bylaw
town-
or there's not anything that actually we would be superseding by having something. I mean, we can have the policy in there, but this board might be a very dry board where we're like, nope, not even
I
tasting.
just think it's, from the town's perspective, I think that's a bad avenue to go down.
Okay.
That's,
And I had one, I just wanted to ask one other thing. And if anything, if anyone has any questions on Jeff's stuff, you mentioned the sign or the trailer,
well, it's a sign on wheel. It's a big, I mean, it's not like a lawn sign that you
Yep.
plant. And to me, I mean, so I know it's a stretch, but.
I don't- you
throw a
don't-
message
no,
board
no,
up there
I have an
from some
idea.
organization.
Shouldn't be there.
I've seen other communities where businesses or NGOs or organizations in town can adopt certain areas, can be adopting a mile
Yeah.
of road. Because, you know, I drive to Hanscom every Friday and I drive through Acton and they say, this mile was adopted by such and such because they clean it up or otherwise. I always have viewed, and I know we've been talking about the lions in the gazebo, I always viewed them as not, we're coming in there because we want to monopolize the gazebo, but they wanted to keep it in an operable condition. I've asked Adam to take a look at other communities that have these policies. Like, I don't think we should be reinventing the wheel. I'd like to take and plagiarize someone else's policy to say whether it's a part of this or a standalone policy that says you can adopt the town hall parking lot and clean it up, or you can adopt Houghton Park to clean up trash or otherwise. But I think that's the way I would like to address that, to say, let's have a policy where organizations in town can say, yeah, we want to be a part of the team and we'll clean that up.
Again, my thing is that sign on wheels, and not that I don't think anybody's gonna go buy one, but they could show up with one of them message boards and plant it there. And what do you mean I can't put that there? That's there. It's sitting there for.
Oh,
you know,
I
6
see what you're
months.
saying.
It's just, I'm thinking
Fair is fair.
the litigious society that we live in and just how things work these days. And, you know, you look at somebody wrong and you got 10 things against you.
Oh, I know it happens.
I just, and I get what you say about, because they even do it like in Ghana, like the rotaries, they plant flowers, grass, boom, 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 or a stretch of road maintained by
Yep.
the Lions Club, the Veterans thing, the American Legion, or, you know, Mike Curry and Jeff Bennett, I don't know.
Yep.
It's just, you know, our livery service. You know,
I think
it's just-
that's something that we can actually leverage to make, I understand that gray area that you're talking about, but in terms of trying to help it along, to say, we can define it, we can have a policy for town use for when you're selling Christmas trees or you're having a band, Halloween, a band, a festival or something like that. But then we also wind up saying, when there's questions, well, why are they, painting that? Because they have adopted that. Mike Curry and Jeff Bennett are doing the flowers out in front of Town Hall. Well, the Lions are repainting the gazebo because we have a system in place to adopt stuff. Not passing the deed or anything. But anyway, those are the questions I had for Jeff. Julie, please.
I'm all set.
You're all set.
I am.
Can I put a plug in if anybody does adopt pollinator gardens? Pollinator gardens are very up and coming and popular.
It has like.
Right outside Hollywood.
Pollinator garden outside your window.
So how
All
about
these bees.
Terry just,
So we'll take this back and
You
we'll
allergic?
make some changes to it.
I'd like to be involved in these changes, please. I'm an organizer. I've done it
Jeff
forever. I get some of the tweaks that we should do. And I also totally agree with you, Tim, if it's non-organized, if it's nonprofit, it's nonprofit, it doesn't matter where you're coming from, so I get that for sure.
So if you're
Yeah,
gonna do some
put
revisions to
tweaks.
that, be prepared, be prepared to address the authority part and be prepared for us to, at least me, to say, I don't like that. I want to see them come to the board. So if you have any ideas on how you can achieve that, and again, I'm being selfish from my perspective, I want to be connected in these, you know, I get that a lot of them are happening and there's time there. I just, unless you give me something else, I would say no to that authority, just automatically given to the town administrator.
Can each of you send your
Suggestions?
suggestions in an email so we can kind of incorporate it?
I can do that.
I did want to comment on the alcohol, whether you guys want to allow that on town property. I can check with town council, but they looked at the whole policy. The only thing they really commented on was that first section. But they get liquor, they would have to get a one-day license. They get liquor liability insurance. So that would cover anything that would happen with that, just so you know on that front. And if people, you know, people want to have a wedding there or something, I mean, you know, you might want to get into that, or you might just say no alcohol, but just keep that in mind.
Take those revisions.
Okay.
I have most of them already taken down.
So, yep, and the board has the go-do to email Holly and Adam their concerns so they can incorporate those.
But I think for the most part, I think quite a bit of the language the board already agrees with. There's just some tweaks that we have to make within it.
Yep. All right, moving on with, that was our last piece of new business. We are to old business. I know the rec committee, and speaking of old business, I know advisory's not meeting tomorrow,
Advisory meets 1 week from tomorrow.
1 week from tomorrow. The rec commission meets tomorrow. Jackie, I saw an email, Jackie was looking for any information on insurance or otherwise, because they're gonna, James Engstrom is gonna be in attendance there. I would, if anyone wants to watch that. But that's still old business, and I think that is on our agenda for September 8th. Go ahead.
So you were on that email with the underwriter wants to receive all that information. I think we need to really figure out, and I don't want to talk too much about this, it's posted, the insurance and narrowing down what exactly is managed.
Okay.
So for us to get the information back to the underwriter.
Yeah, we're not, I don't think, we're not really deliberating anymore. We're just saying this is the current status of what's going on with it.
An update.
Yep, and so RecCom is meeting tomorrow. Any other old business that we might have forgot? Probably too much of an open-ended question. I'm sorry, Adam. All right. We, just before we go into board member comments, Adam has given me the bad news that he does need an executive session this evening. So after board member comments, we will go into executive session. I believe you do not anticipate a vote. Okay, so for TCTV to know that we will be going into executive session and we will come out of it only to conclude the public meeting. So with that, I would like to open it up to board member comments.
I will go first.
All
I
right.
have,
Thanks, Jeff.
first, I would just repeat what I said at the last meeting and at the beginning or somewhere in this meeting. I said I would update the board on what was happening at MRPC.
Mhm.
I have an email that has what was on the agenda at the last meeting. It was rather lengthy, and there was 4 parts to it. Some of it is their upcoming budget. Some of it is procedural stuff within the entity, and some of it are the projects that are going on and some possible future things. And it talks about the Fed money coming down, the grant, all these grant stuff, and existing money that is there. And you will see some of the things that towns in this area are doing that Templeton already has in place, that have already been done. And some are different and a little new. And there are potential openings for money possibly to do a mitigation plan, et cetera, et cetera. So I will send that, you can look for that in your email box tonight or whenever you look at your emails. My second thing is, and I would like to request this, I think, as an agenda item for our next meeting, and it involves ClearGov. I did some, I've been doing a little reading, and I looked at ClearGov, which went in front of town meeting, a special town meeting, and it was $7,500 budgeted or appropriated by town meeting, and the expenditure report shows 6,250 of that 7,500 has been spent on ClearGov. And I looked at ClearGov, I opened up two screens, two computers, and looked at Mass Division of Local Services, the Municipal Data Analytics, and ClearGov to compare the information. On ClearGov, the most recent information I saw was from 2019. Yeah, and I don't know if that's on ClearGov or on the town, if we're not, forwarding stuff, or if they haven't been looking at what the situation is. I just know that's what's there. And to me, it really doesn't matter. It's, the information is 2019. DLS, on the other hand, and I learned about this, or it was in the talks, that they were starting to do this at an ATFC meeting back in 2018, I think the one we were there at. And anyway, I went to that seminar, and I looked at that information as of today, and you can find, you click on the data analytics, and a map of Massachusetts comes up, and you can click on any city or town and get a snapshot of stabilization fund balance, percent of debt per capita, excess levy capacity, override capacity, the average homeowner tax bill, revenue per capita, free cash as the percent of budget, all of those things. The one thing I did notice on DLS, and this may be due to the census cycle, was the population estimate was 2018. My first thought, and I didn't call or email DLS on that, but everything else was either 2020 or 2021 information. It was very up to date. They did what they said they were going to do. You're going to be able to look at DLS and find real-time data. It's going to be up to date. No more of this. Like, if you look at school stuff though, and that's just that side of the fence works that way, it'll be like a couple of years back, because that's just how DESE and the Board of Education, that's just how they work. The other thing I noticed, neither one of them, and I don't think I missed it, ClearGov or DLS data analytics is not tagged to our website. In other words, I don't see a link where any resident or anybody who wants to, I don't know if everybody's a nut job like me that looks at this junk, but if anybody wanted to see, if you just wanted to see, how much that way, what's the average tax bill in the state, this, that, and everything. Our comparison communities, and you just start clicking on them, and it brings up a little window and it gives you a snapshot of what's what there. Again, I think this is a discussion for the board, but it's to have it linked. And my last thing on ClearGov is we spent taxpayer dollars where you can go to DLS. There's no direct local tax impact to get and gather this information to be looking at. Advisory wants to look at it. Residents want to look at it. Businesses, potential businesses who want to come here, what's the tax rate? Is it single split? How much is their debt there? What's this, that, boom, boom. So,
We'll talk about it. At the
I think that,
I'll probably wind up giving the presentation on that, but September.
but it's
Yeah.
and follow-up is that
Board member
ClearGov
comments.
thing, it's at the end of the year is our current contract. So I think it's a discussion for the board to have,
Absolutely.
because of the information up to date and the spending of the money, which, government is not supposed to see how really and truly, coming from me, not supposed to be how cheap you are, but you should be responsible with the funds that you do spend. And if we don't have to spend the money to get the same information, we need to do it. And my other thing is, and I'm just, I checked this at about 5:30 today. So I don't think, it's possible, I guess it could have got changed, updated. And this is the third time that I will be tossing this out at a Board of Selectmen's meeting. If I wouldn't have been late, I was going to put this under, I was going to present this under public comments, but the town website, it was created by a town meeting vote, annual town meeting 2004, it's Article 45. Selectmen shall designate an official town website for posting of town business and provide for its maintenance, security improvement through a budget line item, which we do. Fiscal 22, page 73, IT budget, $2,625 fee for the website. And if you want to look at the bylaw, it's under chapter 22, section 19. That was adopted, and the bylaw was adopted May 12, 2004. There are things that are not up to date or incorrect on the website. Even some that were off have been removed. There was a talk of the town thing, and if you clicked on the link in the center of the page, you would see Town Administrator Carter Terenzini. I almost called him and said, "Where the hell you at?" Because you're the administrator. But and then if you clicked on that link and then clicked on Board of Selectmen, you saw old Board of Selectmen. It'd take you like to Templeton1.org, which there are several things that do that. Under committees and boards, the Cemetery Commission is incorrect. Even though Michael Capps that this board appointed a month and a half, 2 months ago, is not listed on there. The old cemetery commissioners are still listed there. The advisory committee is incorrect. While May resigned, he's still listed on there. Again, I don't know if this is on these committees, but Mike Capps, this board appointed him. It's in our minutes. The planning board, the last member who was elected, I think there's 2 members missing of it. I checked with Lori. I said, "Is this guy actually, on there?" She goes, "Yes, he was elected." He's not listed. The Capital Improvement Committee, it shows.
Yeah,
As a member.
Jeff, I got a point of order, because what's the purpose for you going through this for the third time now? What is the purpose for you
Okay,
to go through it?
as I said, I wanted to talk about
You have
this.
some undertext there that I don't know if it's going to be helpful in this forum.
As I said, I wanted to talk about this at public comment.
Okay.
But my reason to keep bringing this up as a select board meeting is it's accountability. We have a bylaw, we have a budget. Town meeting said, here's a budget, create a website, post our town business on there. It's not on there. It's not incorrect. And if we're going to be holding these other boards and committees accountable and department heads accountable, we need to hold ourselves accountable. And if we're not going to hold ourselves accountable, then maybe budgets need to be cut, starting with the select board budget. If people go to look for this information and they get there and they go to Templeton1.org, well, how many websites does the town have? Members that are on these committees or on these boards, they're not even listed. The CPC, if you go look at their project eligibility, if somebody wants to go for a project, you look at that form. And the CPC bylaw was passed in 2007. It's Article 45. There's supposed to be a member of the Templeton Housing Authority. There's none there. Is that a violation of the bylaw? They're listed as a member. You can still see on the project eligibility, and it's probably been there since this article was passed. Applications for projects may be submitted between December 7th, 2008 and January 31st, 2009. Are you kidding me? It's 2021. Again, I don't know if this is on CPC, the Selectman's Office. All I know is we have a bylaw, we have a budget line item, we have a website, and it's not being kept up to date.
And we have a way of driving. Jeff
We have a
crazy.
capital planning committee member listed. She hasn't been on there for 3 years, right here in our minutes. May 26, 2021, Tim Toth appointed as the board's capital representative. He's not
Jeff.
listed.
Jeff,
Could-
at the next, no, you can't. So at the next meeting, would you like to discuss the IT budget line item? I
No,
think that would,
well, we can. I would just say that back in, there was you can find this, when you get to 2018, it seems that was the disconnect. And this is probably the issue. February 6, 2019, there were accolades for the new town website. And the chairman at the time, John Kaplis, the new website looks great, clean, professional appearance, and well-organized information. It's just too bad all the information isn't on there when you click on it. It's just, it's an ongoing thing, and I don't know exactly who's at fault. All I know is the website is the responsibility of the Board of Selectmen. We try to hold department heads, other boards and committees accountable. We need to hold ourselves accountable.
I have
And
is
it's
that it?
just, that's it.
Okay, I have the three things. Ms. Young,
Yeah, I'd like to comment on the website. So the money that we allot, that the town pays for, the 2,600, pays for a very basic upkeep for Civic Plus to supply the website and basic, we can email them if there's something wrong and they'll help us out a little bit. It's very, very limited. It's a low cost. When we switched the website over, which we paid them a separate fee to do, they were charged with deleting the old website, templeton1.org, which they did not do. I thought they had. Year and a half later, I find out they hadn't. Emailed them constantly. Really don't have time to keep following up with them. The website maintenance, I have taken on my plate, which is overflowing, for the past, since I've been here. We do not pay someone to maintain that. I take it upon myself to do that. It's an unpaid thing. Each individual committee, a couple town administrators had asked me to, give that to each board. You cannot teach someone to maintain their page and then they go on there once a month to try to do something and they forget how to do it. It's something you have to do on a regular basis. If you would like to add a stipend onto my position for the technology, I will put in an hour or two a week just for the website and get it all corrected and updated. Or if you'd like to pay for a more expensive website platform where they do that. It just can't be done as much as I would like it to. And I just want to get that out there because I hear people complaining, Templeton1.org, and there's nothing I can do about it. I've contacted Google. I don't know what can be done about it at this point, but.
Polly, thanks. I normally don't allow rebuttal and everything, but I did need to allow the rebuttal in that case, Jeff. But I want to bring it back to where we are in this meeting. Jeff, I've got the three things that you talked about, your update, and then your agenda item requests. I would say, Adam, I think that the root of the matter is that we should have the discussion on the IT budget line. What it is meant to do, what it achieves, and then how it can be corrected for some of the errors that Jeff has highlighted that are consistent. Okay, we don't have a process for that right now, so I would ask the IT budget line become an agenda item. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it.
And just one last thing, this has, ever since the website has been created, at first, before Holly came, there was a volunteer who did it. So it's never really been
That's why I think that we need to have the discussion rather than to have this passive aggressive war.
maintained.
I'm not going to allow it to continue, but your point is made. And I think we can fix it. Let's continue with board member comments.
Okay, it's 8:18. Just
That's good.
want to go quick. So the school, my big takeaways from the school committee, there was a great turnout of parents, a lot of emotion, and people came prepared with their comments, and it was respectful and things stayed pretty much in order. The downside is that their income statement has changed, ESER 2 cannot be used for minimum local contribution. And Tim, jump in because you're smarter than me. I watched them. I went to the meeting and I'm like, did I hear what I heard? I better go back and check that. I text Tim. Can you go to 4115 and tell me if I'm hearing this correctly? And it's $189,000 that Adam's got to talk to Chris, I believe. And I don't know what that's going to do for our town budget because I'm still a puppy, but that was the big takeaway. There was so much discussion on masks, but it kind of was a waste of time when you give what happened today that it's mandatory from the state now. Anything else? Dr. Cassavant looked up the mascot. He went back to 1955, March 1955, April 1955, Mr. McDonald and Mr. Peterson. There was a motion and a second. There was no identification that we had a letter or permission to use Narragansett as a mascot. No old newspapers, and never lived he just went on about his never lived in this area, etc. So they came up with, they're working with that. Okay. Extended day. There's a need for paid help for extended day. I sent a letter out to the senior center, who's gonna ask Jackie Prime, maybe senior work off, or because there's a lot of parents that are affected by extended day. And I think that's as far as I'll go on that. If I forgot
That's for
anything,
TES,
I'm
correct?
sorry. No, that's for the school district.
Yeah, Templeton Elementary.
Yeah.
Okay.
What? What? We can't do what?
Work off with the school.
Oh, can't do it. So, okay, I was just in a notice. All right, so
Senior work on.
It's not an eligible use. Yep, got it.
Keith Parker's replacing Rick Moulton. Everybody was sad to see him go. He was there in attendance. So I wanted to thank Adam for inviting me to MS4, the storm update, storm drainage. I read so many books about water and, water in America and bringing nature home that I had it confused in my head. In Templeton, our sewage goes to the sewer department. Our drainage, storm drains and culverts and what do they call I'm sorry, I didn't write
Is
that.
one of our education messages?
Yes, partly, yes, yeah. So those go directly into wetlands, berms. They go right into watersheds. They're asking for, and Holly was particularly fascinated and helpful. We'll be putting things out. You have to put things out, according to MS4, you have to put the things out to the public. What you use on your lawn, if it goes in a storm drain, you've got to be aware that that's affecting nature, et cetera, et cetera. So that stuff will be coming out. And to the people that said, why are they sweeping my street twice in a year and it doesn't need to be done? Well, there's new laws that require some streets that don't have storm drainage and, go back to the meeting. Well, I don't think it's online, but look it up. It's required now. Things are changing. Things are changing across the country. I mean, I could go on and on because of some of the books I read about endocrine disruptors through estrogen coming out in sewer water that goes into the rivers and that, we absorb, and there's a lot. And I think is that the last thing that I want to say? What I'm concerned about is if anybody, there are so many grants out there. The Baker Polito administration put out a swimming grant now because an 8-year-old drowned in Boston. So there's money available. I sent it off to the rec department, rec commission. Yeah. So, so that's out there on the rec commission state web page. And there's one that we missed, communities that have given their land to the state. if we want to do upgrades to trails and stuff like that. So, and I did get a call from Joel to get a tour of the Otter River State Forest. It was supposed to be Monday, but we opted out because of the storm, and I think I can talk forever, but Julie needs to get home. I'm sorry, Julie. I'm kidding.
I did see our
I
clothing.
tease
bit-
people, I'm
our-
sorry. I didn't
Our
know that.
clothing bins are there.
Yeah.
That's all,
Yeah.
that's all I have to say.
I
That's the
saw
great
those.
thing
That's
with the little sign on that. And Board of Health had their presentation on that, so I thank you for that. Tim, Julie,
I have nothing.
all set tonight?
Real quick,
Sure.
Regional Agreement Amendment Committee, we did not have a meeting this month. It does not look like we're gonna have one in September. We're waiting for the messages to come out from the school district with the meet and greet tomorrow morning, and then the first day of school next week. It'll be sometime later that we get polled as the members of the Regional Agreement Amendment. So it's currently stalled with the summertime. They were having difficulties getting a quorum.
Okay.
So that was a part of it. To Select Board Member Griffith's comment on the ESER 2, there was another question came out of the school district meeting. Their $561,000 ESER 2, and how is that being applied? Nobody can seem to answer right now. So, the running joke, Tim, is everything about ESER, and this is one I don't know. I'm going back through all those documents again. Trust me, it's a nightmare. Real brief, the fire department today received a donation, some sensory awareness sacks. We did a training last month through the Start of Early Foundation on autism awareness. There are some things we can use for folks. It doesn't matter, children, adults, whatever, who are on the spectrum. Some things we can use to help mitigate an emergency. I attended the training earlier in the year. I helped coordinate getting it to our department. We're looking to do an encore presentation as well. So the little tiny things we can do.
Kits.
It's a kit. Each ambulance has a kit with a number of contents, a weighted animal, some cloth items, a whiteboard they can write on, a little wheel, how do I feel today kind of a thing, fidget spinners. There was a really interesting bottle, a little bit smaller than Terry's bottle, that had a liquid in it, but you kind of shake it up. It was like a non-electrically operated bottle. But different things that can definitely work. Earmuffs. So the children in a building, a fire drill, or the sound could be, just a trigger point. So set of earmuffs. So it was a really good thing. They'll be putting pictures on the fire department. Oh, excellent. Chief received that today.
About how big?
It's a little string sack, like
Okay,
children's
got
backpack. It's got 8 or 10 items pushed in there, and a little card with some reference materials for the responders.
Yeah. Is that Tim?
Yep.
The only thing I have is posted the position for the administrative intern in our office. This is a position, flexible part-time, 15 plus or minus hours a week. It's going to involve night meetings as well, or evening meetings. So we see it, it's out there, it's on the webpage. Go on to job opportunities. That's open, available. Please
Talk to Rich if you want to put it on the signs as well. I know I've seen it in other communities where they put it onto their message boards. If you can work that into the rotation, but it might be helpful.
Well, right now we got the webpage on MMA and Indeed.
Yeah,
Indeed, is that what you said? Okay.
get a lot from that.
Thanks, Adam. All right. One last go around. Everyone good on the board? All right. We're about to go into executive session. And we will only be coming out of the public meeting. Our next public meeting is 8 September at 18:30 or 6:30 PM. So I would make a motion to enter executive session and no possible action per Mass General Law, Chapter 30 Alpha, subsection 21A3, strategy relating to collective bargaining.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions? Did I get that right? I'm good? Okay. All right, on the motion to go into executive session and only to come out to close a public meeting with no possible action per Mass General Law, Chapter 30 Alpha, subsection 21A3, strategy related to collective bargaining. How would you vote? Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
I vote yes as well.